Today, on part 15 of our Grand Cherokee project series, we work on installing an on-demand running water system in the back of the Jeep with the capability of having both hot and cold water, which will make life during the off-road and camping trips just that much more easy and convenient going forward. Back in 2014, I purchased my first Jeep ever, which is this, a 1994 Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo. With the big 5.2-liter V8 engine and low miles, this completely stock ZJ was full of potential. Since then, well, we've done a few upgrades and modifications. Past projects include a 3.5-inch lift, transfer case swap, custom roof rack, lights, skid plates, and so much more. We've transformed this stock ZJ into a capable off-road rig and reliable daily driver that's taken us all across Arizona. Today, we continue the project. Hello everybody and welcome to another ZJ project video. Now this one's going to be a little bit different because the project I am working on and showcasing today is actually something that's not going to be permanently on the Jeep. It's something removable, something transportable that's going to be going with me on overlanding and camping trips. And that is an onboard, on-demand hot water system. So as you can see here, we've got the water flowing. It's on this spigot here, and this is going to be pretty much a game changer for camping and overlanding. So the main purpose for having the onboard water is to make camping trips just a little bit more convenient. So now those 4 to 5 plus day camping trips will have the option at least of taking a shower, a quick shower out on the trail to get cleaned up. That way I'm not going a week without a shower. You can also use this for dishes and whatnot. So showers, dishes, things like that, other little odds and ends around camp where some flowing water might be handy is going to be huge, and certainly beats having to dump it out of a jerry can or a water can and trying to precariously balance that. It's now just instantly ready to go, and that's pretty cool. So very excited today. Again, a little bit of a different project, but something that is pretty cool and something that I've thought about adding to the Jeep for a long time. I just haven't figured out quite how to incorporate it, but that day is finally here. So there are 3 basic components to this setup. There's the water source, which for me and something I'm going to use most of the time is a water can. I just happen to just get a new water jerry style can that fits perfectly into my rear tire carrier. Now this uses a pump system which could go into some kind of freshwater source like a lake or a river or whatever, but here in Arizona I think 95% of the time or more I'm going to be using these canned water things, which does limit my supply overall, but is nice to have that flexibility. Whether I have these cans or I find a water source, I can have unlimited free water to use through the system. There's also the heating element, which is propane. There's a propane tank just behind my Jeep here, and that provides the energy for the hot water system, which is this. And this setup is the hot tap unit by Julka. It includes this hot water heater here. There is a water pump just behind my tire, which helps pump water from the source through the system, and that kicks on and off as needed to help the flow of water. And that plugs into my Jeep. Now the unit here has 3 hoses that hook up to it. One is for the propane, one is for the ingoing water, and one is for the outgoing water, which goes to the nozzle up here. And with the flip of a switch, everything kicks on, the hot water heater kicks on, the pump kicks on, and water starts moving through the system and is hot pretty much within a couple of seconds, so instantaneously. So that is kind of the basics of the individual parts that are involved. I'm going to actually go backwards from here, show you kind of the unboxing and how I set it up and how I got it working. We're going to do a test of everything here at home, making sure it works, and then actually going out into the field to see how it works truly off-grid, because this is something that is going to be incorporated into my camping and overlanding setup. For a project like this, I found it easiest to begin with an all-in-one kit that came with everything needed to get started right away. Rather than have to source all these different components and try to get them to play nice together, having something that was compatible would make life a lot easier. And that's where I ended up with this unboxing the hot tap system by Julka, which this is kind of the middle of the road level called the outing kit, which includes the hot water system itself, the nozzle, and the pump. You can get a more upgraded kit that comes with the sink setup and whatnot, or you could get a more simple setup which just has the hot water system itself. The first order of business was flat out getting everything laid out and figured out what was what. And it did look a little bit intimidating at first with all of the different hoses and attachments and everything going on. Fortunately, it did come with quite a few different instruction manuals for the hot water system itself, for the off-grid pump system, and the nozzle assembly. After giving the instructions a quick glance, I figured it was best to just dive into it. I mean, how hard could it be? All of the different hoses and attachments were color-coded, which made things immensely helpful. The propane hoses were black, the ingoing water and pump system were all blue, and the outgoing water, including the shower head assembly and the on-off switch, was red. So I decided to just start hooking up some hoses to the underside of the hot water system. Now, the hot water system itself does come with some legs that you can stand the system up on. I also got a quick release bracket, but I'll be getting to that in a little bit. But for my at-home test, I decided to just put the legs on it. That way it would be up off the ground and all the hoses and stuff underneath wouldn't get pinched. I then worked on getting the shower head assembly hooked up, which it turns out initially I had on backwards, which would lead to a few delays on the first test. The pump system itself is powered by a 12-volt connection that can hook into any vehicle, which runs the pump on demand as needed. The ingoing water system has a 2-stage water filtration system, which helps keep all those sediments out of the water, and it comes with this little guard that helps to keep the end of the hose off the bottom of a lake or a river or wherever you're going to throw this thing into. But for my setup with the water cans, I really didn't need this extra guard, but the water filter itself would suffice. Both the pump and the shower nozzle does have arrows that indicate the direction of the water flow, which should be paid attention to as it'll save you a little bit of time, and once I figured this out, it was pretty much ready to go. I got the propane hooked up and turned on, as well as the water can fully filled and hooked up to the pump. After eventually getting all of the directional arrows pointing the right way, I soon got the system working. I flipped the nozzle on the handle to the on position and the hot water system booted up, and water started to flow out the handle. Now, the hot water unit itself does have 2 adjustments on it. The first is a temperature control, which adjusts how hot your hot water is. Now, the unit itself has about a 37,000 BTU heater, which can raise the ambient water temperature up to close to 100 degrees Fahrenheit, depending on how fast the water is flowing. Since I was dealing with fairly warm water that was already in the 60s to 70s, I kept this on the lowest setting and the water was comfortably warm. When I turned it up, it did get quite hot, a little bit steamy, but you know, if you like it that way, you have plenty of control. The other adjustment is for the water flow control. On the lowest setting, it's about 0.6 gallons per minute coming out of the nozzle, and at its highest setting is about 1.6 gallons per minute. And again, because I anticipate using this on a limited water supply, I kept this on the lowest setting, but if you were hooked into some kind of more unlimited water supply, then you could crank it up from there. There is an LCD panel on the front of the system itself, which displays the water temperature you're currently at, and also has some other diagnostic information which may be helpful if you can't get the system to work properly. The magnetic attachment made it really convenient to put the nozzle in different places, both above the tailgate for more of a shower setup and on the swing arm or the bumper for more of a sink hand washing station. After figuring out the basics and getting everything up and running, the next question became how to incorporate this into my setup. This isn't really something I needed or wanted to have permanently mounted in the back of my Jeep. If you know anything about me, when I go out on trips, space is at an absolute premium, And while this setup doesn't really take up that much space, I really couldn't justify having it permanently mounted, so I needed to come up with a different solution. In the back of my Jeep on the left is the auxiliary power box, which holds my dual battery, my air compressor, and has a spot for charging gear while out on trips. And on the right side, I have my speaker box. Now on any given day, the middle between these two is generally open, and recovery gear and tools and things like that take up some of that space, but on a camping trip, this space is absolutely packed with kitchen gear and camping gear and other things that I need throughout my trip. So I was forced to come up with something different. Using the quick release bracket that's offered by Julica, I was able to come up with a solution. Instead of precariously balancing the hot tap system in the back of the Jeep while I'm out camping and it being in the way, I came up with a way to mount the quick release bracket to the swing arm using a single bolt. And because it's only one bolt, it takes relatively no time at all to get set up. I screw in the quick release bracket to the swing arm, throw the hot tap system into the mount, and hook up all the hoses right there. What I really like about this setup is it keeps everything out of the way, and it keeps the hot water system close to the source of the water can itself, and keeps all of the hoses well out of the way while I'm out camping. Now obviously this isn't something I can drive around with since I can't close my swing arm with this mounted, but the setup time is so absolutely minimal that this was really the best and quickest, most convenient option. After getting everything set up and properly working in the nice controlled environment that is my driveway, it was time to head out into the field to test everything out truly off-grid. So I headed up to the beautiful red rocks of Sedona for a day trip, found a nice isolated spot to hike and explore, and while I was out there, set up the hot tap system to see how it worked. And of course, just like at home, everything worked as expected. It took about 5 minutes to fully connect everything up, get things turned on, and before I knew it, the hot water was flowing. Which out here in the absolute middle of nowhere was a pretty neat feeling. The water supply itself is definitely going to be the limiting factor on how long I can run the system for, but I think with some proper planning and the ability to refill jugs as needed on trips, it shouldn't be that big of an issue at all. And the pros far outweigh the cons with this setup. So the reason why this project is a little bit different is because it's going to be kind of a removable system. This isn't designed to be on my Jeep all the time. Obviously, I'm not going to be driving around with this stuff mounted up. But for me, the big draw of having this kind of system on board is the ability to go camping and overlanding and have this set up at camp. Now, I might not drag this out every night at camp. I don't know yet. It's going to be one of those things where I'm just going to have to learn how it works and how it's going to incorporate into my camping setup. But I'm really excited because now, if I want to do dishes, rather than put it off until I get home, I can just fire the stuff up. I have nice hot water. It's going to make doing dishes that much easier. On those longer overlanding trips, or if I'm going to be parked in a spot for a while, I don't have to skip a shower. I can actually freshen up a little bit. I might not be taking a full-on shower like I would here at home, but it adds that capability to my camping setup, which is really nice. I like the very concise camp. I like to keep things easy to set up because at the end of the day, I don't want to waste my exploring time, my adventuring time, or my relaxed time around camp. I want to just be able to kind of quickly deploy all the things I need and then get to the relaxing, because very often I'm not spending any more than one night at a single camp spot. And this is one of those things where it's a pretty nice quality of life improvement to the overall camp setup, but it's relatively simple, small, and quick, so it's perfect for me. So before ending the video, I just wanted to say a big thank you to Julica for sending me this hot tap unit. I did get it for free, full disclosure, in exchange for an honest review. So they're not controlling the content in any way. They're not controlling my opinion. If it was bad, I would tell you it's bad. If it's good, I'm going to tell you it's good. And so far, I honestly think this is a quality product that is already changed the way I've gone out exploring and camping, and will be incorporated into all of my future overlanding trips and videos. So normally when companies reach out to me, it's happened a few times, I instantly shoot them down. But when doing some research on this hot tap system that they designed, it's been used in Australia for years in the overlanding community, and just honestly seemed like a great fit. I've thought about and dreamed about a system like this before, I just was never sure how to incorporate it into my specific overlanding setup, but having this whole kit ready to go, everything hooks up super easy, it was kind of a perfect fit. But just out of transparency, I wanted to let you know that. Now, you're gonna see this in future videos and overlanding trips going forward. Can't wait to test it out more and just keep taking it on the trips and seeing how it impacts my overall camp setup. I'm not gonna be doing like a review or install video like this again. You're just gonna see it kind of casually as part of my camp setup in the future. So that's going to be it for this project. The Jeep now has on-demand hot water, which is so cool to say. And it's relatively simple to set up and carry around, and that's really makes me that much more excited. Now, if you do want to get yourself one of these, there is an affiliate link in the description below. I would highly recommend just checking it out. You don't necessarily have to get it, but at least give it a look. You know, they have quite a few different options, different levels of kit depending on your need. They have some different extensions and things you can customize your own setup with. And really just check it out. They also have like these ensuite tent things if you want a little more privacy. So if you use the affiliate link, it does help me out. So as always, I would encourage you to do your own research, but I think this is a great place to start and a good option to consider. But anyways, that's gonna be it from here. And as always, we'll see you on the next one. I'm gonna go ahead and just take a quick shower here. Yep, don't mind me. Hopefully I don't have to blur this out.